So it's the middle of a heat wave in the summer of 2013, and tension on the street is high. There's been a series of sweeps going on for about a month. Police officers waking people up at 5 in the morning with a kick, telling them to move now. One man told me he would get up every morning and push his shopping cart with all of his belongings, and he would just walk, searching for some place to simply sit down and rest. At some point, he just fell down where he was and lay there until the next uniformed body kicked him on his way again. So here I was in Southeast Portland, standing on the sidewalk, and I'm watching as this group of men appear to be getting into an argument. Their voices are getting louder, their body posture's changing. I can see them puffing up their chests and moving towards one another, and then walking away. And I'm watching them for a while until I suddenly think, I should probably get out of here. And so I start packing everything up, and I turn to go. And as I turn, one of the men looks right at me, and he starts walking towards me. And he's a really big guy, and he's got an enormous backpack on his back, and he is coming towards me fast. And he looks at me, and then all of a sudden he yells, "Hey, wait!" And I freeze. But I'm going to stop there for a second because I need to let you know what I was doing out there and why I was there. You see, I'm a street librarian. I work for Street Books, and we are... That's right. So we are a bicycle-powered, mobile, old-school lending library for people living out. So for marginalized people who might not be able to access the Multnomah County system for many reasons. Every week, we load up this bike and another bike with paperback books that we choose to reflect the people that we think we might see that day on the street. And now we always go to the same place at the same time because we want people to be able to depend on us. We want them to know where to find us so they can return their books and get another book. So I first heard about Street Books in 2011, which was the first summer that the amazing and hilarious Laura Moulton was out on the street checking out books. Yeah, you all who know Laura. So when I read about Street Books in Street Roots newspaper, I knew immediately that I had to be involved because, well, for many things, but not least of which, it brought together two of the things I love so much, and that's bicycles and books. So when I was thinking about this story and I was trying to figure out how to explain how I feel about riding my bike, I thought of an experience that I had very recently when I was riding on Northeast Going Street. So for those of you who ride on Going Street regularly, you know that between 15th and Martin Luther King, if you're going west, it goes slightly downhill, so you can get a little bit of speed. Even if you're riding on a clunky old cargo bike like I almost always am. So I had just passed 15th, and I was heading down, and I was getting that little smooth kind of motion forward, and I suddenly realized I'd been joined on either side by two crows. And they were flying so close to me that I could see the muscles moving their wings. And I could see the feathers moving backwards as they went through the air. And I could see their chests moving forward and back as they breathed. And we were flying together, and it was beautiful. And I feel similarly about books, for the way in which they can be transformative. My 8-year-old daughter, Violet, said the other day that she loves books and she loves reading for the way that it reminds her that anything is possible. But what I've realized in the 3 years that I've been out on the street checking out books is that street books is about a lot more than just bicycles and just books. It's really about relationships. The relationships that we as street librarians create with our patrons, the relationship that the patrons create with one another, and the collective relationship that we create around books. Last summer, I was talking with a woman who's a regular patron. Her name's Thea, and she had just finished The Grapes of Wrath. And we were talking about that wonderfully complicated character, Rose of Sharon. Now, for those of you for whom it's been a little while since you read The Grapes of Wrath, I will remind you that Rose of Sharon is a character who spends most of the book pregnant. And at the end, she gives birth, and the baby's dead. So the baby is stillborn, which is an incredibly evocative word, right? Stillborn. And so Thea was talking to me about that character, and then she began to tell me her own story, and the story of how she, too, like Rose of Sharon, had lost a child to poverty and inequity. And I don't think we could have had that conversation if we hadn't spent a lot of time creating a relationship around this book and around books. And it really showed me what street books can do. But these realizations about street books really came later, after I'd been out on the street a while. And so right now, it's 2013, and it's really hot, and I'm standing on a street sidewalk, and there's this giant guy with an even bigger backpack, and he's coming towards me, and he says, "Hey, wait!" And I'm frozen because I'm scared, and I feel vulnerable, and I don't know what to do, and I don't know what this guy wants from me. And he comes up to me, and he gets closer, and he stands right in front of me, and he says, "Hey, I didn't get to get my book."